or even the tiny little city we're in, we can feel insignificant. We can feel, why would the divine that is infinite do anything for me? I'm so small. And we can keep our dreams and our desires small. But of course, that is not what we're here for. We are here to make our soul print on the earth, to take our God-given gifts, the things we're born with, the skills we have, the experiences that we have lived through, the voice that is speaking at every moment within us, taking those things and making a ripple in the universal energy that only we can make. And I think that it's really fascinating that physics and mathematics both agree that if something is infinite, there isn't a center. Instead, every point is its center. So in a sense, you are the center of the universe. We know that we are God's favorite child, really. That all of that energy that has created this universe, that flows through everything, all of that energy is there for you. No matter our character, that love is given freely. That creative force energy is given to us. And it's up to us, how we take that and do what we do with it. So sometimes I think it can feel difficult in this, amazingly prosperous, abundant universe, this creative flow that's moving through us. It can feel difficult to feel that abundance in our present culture. That we are in a society of accumulation, of more and more wanting that. Sorry, I'm trying to find words that I was looking for. I'll just forget that. That we're in this accumulation. We're in this need for more. And even in our regular life, even if we're just trying to be an average citizen, there's always something more that we need or seem to need. And it's hard to notice the abundance that we have. And often it's only when we feel like we have extra that we then begin to share some of what we have. And the thing is, the magic actually happens when we're willing to share what we have. We all know the power of tithing, the magic that happens with tithing. That once I give, then, some part of me realizes, I gave that and I still have abundance. And that's how we get into the cycle of prosperity. I've been reading, my book club read this, The Serviceberry, which is Robin Wall Kimmerer's new book. She's the one who wrote Braiding Sweetgrass. I'm sure you've heard of that. And it's just a wonderful book about sharing and culture and how abundant the universe is. And in it, she tells a story of an anthropologist who visits a tribal community. And a hunter comes home with a kill. And it's a big animal. And so the anthropologist is really curious how he's going to store this meat for later. Because, animals in the forest are not necessarily abundant. It's, there could be a long period of time before that hunter finds another animal. So, he asks, how are you going to do it? Are you going to smoke it? Are you going to dry it? Because both of those technologies were known by the tribe. And the hunter was kind of confused and kind of dismissed him and invited everyone in the village to a feast that night. And they all gathered and they ate this animal. And it was gone. And the anthropologist was so confused. It was such a conflict to the beliefs that he held coming from our world of why this hunter didn't store the meat for later, because then he might actually be going hungry later. And so he asked the hunter again, and the hunter said, "Store my meat? I store my meat in the belly of my brother." And this is the the difference between a gift economy and a market economy. So she goes on to say, in a gift economy, wealth is understood as having enough to share. The practice for dealing with abundance is to give it away. In fact, status is determined not by how much one accumulates, but by how much one gives away. The currency in a gift economy is relationship, which is expressed as gratitude, as interdependence, and the ongoing cycles of reciprocity. A gift economy nourishes the community bonds that enhance mutual well-being. The economic unit is we rather than I. So a gift economy is defined as systems of exchange in which goods and services circulate without explicit expectation of direct compensation. So because there isn't this direct exchange, I'm giving you my money, you're giving me my book or my food or whatever, because there isn't this direct exchange, the exciting thing that happens is that everything that comes is a gift. I know that abundance will come to me, but I don't know from which direction it will come. In the market economy, it's direct. And I can actually not be grateful of making that direct exchange. When I go to the grocery store and I'm spending, 30% more for whatever it is that I've been buying, eggs, for example, if I'm paying this much more for eggs, I'm not grateful in that exchange. Whereas if I, have a neighbor who raises chickens and they decide that they have more than enough and they give me their eggs because I helped dog sit for them a while back, that is the gift. And it's a surprise, and it's so easy to feel gratitude in that moment. She goes on to say, a gift economy includes a system of social and moral agreements for indirect reciprocity rather than direct exchange. So the hunter who shared the feast with you today could well anticipate that you would share with him of a full fish net or offer your labor in repairing a boat in the future. The prosperity of the community grows from the flow of relationships, not the accumulation of goods. And we need these connections and the safety and the comfort that they bring right now more than ever. So in community, we freely share our skills and our gifts with those that are around us. And then we begin to feel willing to receive the gifts that are coming to us. We moved to our new place. My husband and I live up just at the bottom of Mount Hood, which is an hour from Portland. And we've been there 3 years, and I am so grateful, and I just love living there. I feel so thankful for being able to be there. But it's an hour from Portland, so all of my friends were far away. It's a big commitment to have them come up to us, or we drive to them. And so I know I've shared with this community before that my longing for having female friends on the mountain. And in January, I started going to a group that was just forming for this purpose, to create community of women on the mountain. And it didn't have any other agenda except that. And so it's kind of monthly we meet, and there's an open mic. People can share organizations that they find inspiring, or stories, or needs for help, or whatever. And what has come out of it has been amazing. There's been craft nights where we get together and make a craft. There's been a book club that I was just talking about that meets, and that's mostly just an excuse to get together and have dinner and chat, really. Like, often we don't even talk about the book, but this one we did, actually. It was really interesting. That was really focused on the book. We've had, in the summertime, people have brought the abundance of their garden. I've gone home with beautiful bouquets of basil, just huge, and heirloom tomatoes that smell like summer. And we've set up a phone tree for Latina women and women who have left abusive situations and are worried about their children and themselves, their safety. We had a woman a couple weeks ago that she's a single mom and was out in the forest. It was a weekend. She was enjoying the forest. And when she got back to her car, it didn't start. Luckily, she had phone service, and the text stream happened, and someone went and gave her a jump. Community. There are older women who come who don't drive after dark, and these meetings are in the evening. And every time, there's been people who are like, I'm sure I'll pick you up, and they don't even have to ask, actually. It's really like people know, and they're like, hey, would you like a ride? Can I pick you up? And when it's not a direct exchange, when that older person is not paying for a lift to get somewhere, we can begin to realize the importance that they bring to our community. The wisdom, the knowledge. These women have been living on the mountain for decades, and they know stuff we don't. And the inspiration that they bring. One of the women that comes to my book club, she's 83 now. She was 82 at the time, but still. She came to the book club and had gotten a ride, because I'm a younger person. But she said, I'm kind of tired. I went on a hike today. And I was like, that's neat. She's hiking at 82. And she'd hiked 15 miles. And I was like, what? The inspiration that these people can bring to us of, the story. I know you go camping still, and, it's like just the community that we need these people in our lives. We need our elders. We need the children. We need to be able to have all of these lessons from each other. Community is a basic need, and yet it is so easy to feel isolated and disconnected in this smartphone world that we all, instead of greeting people at the grocery store, we're all on our phone waiting in line. And I want to point out the interconnected. Of course, I live in the forest, right? We have 13 acres of mostly old growth forest. And so I get a lot of my inspiration from natural life. And if you look at the interconnectedness of the forest and how essential the diversity is, we're just barely scientifically scraping the surface of the communication that happens in the soil through the forest. So we know the mycelial network, that's when you lift up the dead leaves, that's the kind of lacy white stuff you see. That's mycelium, and that is the plant of a mushroom. And that mycelium is throughout the forest, and it works as it brings nutrients, it brings water to the trees, it works as a communication device, so when one side of the forest gets infested by bugs, the rest of the forest miraculously starts producing a toxin that will repel them. How would they know? Of course, it's from here. They've just done research that I find fascinating. They had this fir forest, because we plant these fir trees, monoculture to harvest for wood, and they pulled out the beech trees. There were beech trees in this forest, and they were like, well, let's clean this up and get the beech trees out. And then the fir trees started to die. So this one researcher, made it her project to find out why. And what they discovered was that the birch trees, which were in the sunlight, were feeding through that mycelial network the sugars that the fir trees needed because they were in the shade. It's not about competition. It's about community. And we think, survival of the fittest. But really, the forest is about community. When you have that diversity of layers in the forest, you have the ground cover, you have the lower layers, they keep the water in. So when the sun is beating down on the soil, it stays in the ground. They provide nesting areas for birds that then will eat those insects that invade the forest. We need community. We are based on having that. It's part of our DNA to need to be in community. Nothing survives alone. And sometimes I think that we can get in, I know that all of us have experienced this, that, I don't have anything worth offering. I, don't have any experience in whatever. I'm not as good as this other person. And therefore I'm not willing to receive something. I'm not worthy of it. And every part of that statement is not true. That, we are perfect in our imperfection. It's actually the fact, we're in a human body and we're all so diverse, and that is something to be celebrated. That we uniquely will bring only what we can to our community. And sometimes, the idea that I don't have something to offer, a listening ear and someone's actual attention is so much more valuable than, a skill that you would pay a lot of money for. And we are all part of this beautiful web that the divine is weaving. And we are all worthy of receiving. And the divine will be bringing us things all the time. And we have to be willing to receive them. And I am trying to open my life to be a gracious receiver. That the divine is bringing us connections through our network. That, we're not going to just get plop, here it is. It's not going to appear out of nowhere. That's not how it works. How it works is whatever we need will be brought to us through a person or through an opportunity. So I am trying to be a gracious receiver. One of the things that I tend to do is I want to give. We all know how great it feels to give. And as soon as somebody gives something to me, my mind goes, how can I repay that? What can I do to give back to that person? And even the concept of repaying, of course, is that commodity culture. That, and so I'm kind of trying to open to, I give to the world and I receive from the world. Jim and I had dinner at a friend's house the other night, and as we were leaving, she gave me this beautiful braid of garlic. I don't know if you've seen those, where they take the stems and they braid them, and so you have this beautiful kind of braided clumps of garlic that you can keep for the winter and use when you need it. And I was so beautiful. She had grown the garlic. It was just really special. And in the car on the way home, I was thinking, what can I do for her? And then I caught myself and I'm like, no, I'm going to graciously receive this. And I hung it on my wall in the kitchen. I took a photo of it. I sent it to her and said how much I appreciated her friendship and this beautiful gift, and we had had a wonderful night. And I let her have the joy of a gift well received, because I know how it feels when someone really appreciates what I have done. And so to try to be that for others as well. I think that The idea of being completely independent has become a positive trait in our society. I don't need anybody, I can do all of it myself, that Lone Ranger kind of experience. And yet it takes much more courage to be interdependent, to be able to rely on people. I have a friend that we used to meet weekly, but now it's, kind of whenever we need it. But she's that person that when I'm really down, when I'm really struggling with something, she's the one I call. And the same with her. When her brother died a year ago, it was, really hard for her. And so we are that for each other. We need to be able to support and be supported. So how do we switch to feeling part of a community instead of just being isolated in our own world? The first thing we do is we start to notice, and I thought it was really interesting that the songs and the daily word really fit that. Notice what is around us. Notice your community. I know that whenever I come here, Donna is going to be bringing some really yummy treats that are in the back room. I know that when I'm here, I have prayer that can support me, anytime I need it. So, even just getting an email, or you're standing in a grocery line and someone smiles at you. I mean, there's so many ways that we can be connected, even if you feel isolated and alone and disconnected from everything. And as soon as we start to notice those, that's when the gratitude can come in, and we can shift to that gift economy. We can shift to everything that's coming my way is a gift from the universe. I love the term plenitude. I always want to mispronounce it, but I didn't this time, which is great. So the definition of plenitude is the state of mind, the state of being full, complete, and abundant. At its core, it signifies a condition where nothing is lacking and everything necessary for wholeness is already present. So we live in this state at all times, and yet often I think we deny it. We convince ourselves that we're not. And gratitude brings our noticing, and it brings more of that cycle. The more we notice and the more we give in that cycle, the more we receive it back. Wallace Wattles was an author in the early 20th century. He coined the phrase being a person of increase. And what that means is, wherever you are in the world, whoever you're interacting with, have that interaction be uplifting. Open the door for someone. Let the car that's trying to get on this road in. Give that smile in the lane. Talk to the cashier who's been, tired on her feet. Be the person that wherever you are, you're just doing those little things that lift the energy. Be the person of increase. And part of that, of course, is being a gracious receiver as well. We live in an abundant universe, and yet we often live in fear and we stockpile. Just in case the universe will let us down. But shifting to a gift economy, shifting to that gratitude, realizing that everything that is coming to us is a gift. Deepening that sense and noticing your inner connection with your community, with God and with nature. We are not entitled, but we are blessed. Blessings. So we really are. So what, can we do